Om Sri Sai Ram. With humility and love, I offer my pranams at the lotus feet of our Lord, Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, and my loving pranams to all the elders, brothers and sisters watching this webcast. On behalf of the Sri Sathya Sai Seva organization, Delhi-NCR, and our president, Sri Rakesh Kapoor, I would like to extend a warm welcome to you all for the 5th edition of In Tune with Sai. In Tune with Sai is an initiative to stay connected with Sai and the Sai family, listening to the experiences and learnings of some of his divine instruments who have been blessed to be part of the bhajan group. Today, we will have the privilege of listening to Brother Shyam Kishore, an active member of the Delhi-NCR Sathya Sai organization, and I'm sure many of the listeners today know him very well. He is also an alumnus of the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. I have had the fortune to know and work with Brother Shyam in the bhajan group. All I can say in one line is that he is blessed student of Swami who actually practices the teachings and learnings of Bhagwan. In the context of today's program, if I have to pick up one of that trait, it is silence. And you can well imagine the sort of challenges we had and the follow-up we have had to do with Brother Shyam to speak today. And let me tell you, it's only Swami's guidance and directions that he has accepted to speak today. This is his first speech of this nature, despite the enormous experience that he has, and I'm sure he cherishes. This program, as all activities of the Sri Sathya Sai Seva organization, Delhi-NCR, are to help us in our personal sadhana. So let's enjoy the glory of Lord Sai and use the learnings that we have from the talk today to help ourselves in the spiritual journey. With that, I would like to hand it over to Brother Anindya Das Gupta, spiritual coordinator of the West District, who is a classmate of Brother Shyam. Over to you, Brother Anindya.
Aum Sri Sai Ram. Pranams at Swami's Lotus Feet, revered elders, and respected sisters and brothers. Our journey in tune with Sai continues. Welcome to another episode of this wonderful series. And as Brother Murli rightly mentioned, so this is episode number 5. So before we get started, I'm reminded of a very beautiful incident that happened way back in 1960s. And when I complete my narration, you would definitely agree that this incident, which I am going to be narrating, is actually so true to today's context. Well, this incident happened way back in 1960s, and so we had a very senior devotee of Bhagwan, and she mustered a lot of courage to ask this unique question to Swami then in 1960s. When I say mustering courage, you would be extremely surprised to hear that this question that is so true to today's context was actually asked to Swami way back in 1960s. And you know what that interesting question was? Well, this lady asked Bhagwan, what's going to happen to us, the devotees, when you physically are not there with us? Now, imagine this question was asked to Bhagwan way back in 1960s. Hence, I said, a question of such status does need a lot of courage to ask Swami. And you know what Swami replied? Swami, in fact, beautifully smiled. And Swami said, what's going to happen? Nothing is going to happen. It's going to be you, the devotees, who are going to be sitting around, clustering around, and you're going to be talking about me. You'll be talking about the days when Avatar walked the earth. That's what Swami beautifully said. And if you look at this question and this incident, I'm sure you would agree it is so true to today's context. Actually, it is. Be it an offline or an online, we're always clustering, we're always in groups, listening to Swami's talks, listening to such beautiful anecdotes, of devotees, who in fact have been part of Swami's mission. So when you talk about God, you also talk about his devotees, right? And Swami brilliantly mentioned that the Almighty and the all-powerful Lord can only be bound with this beautiful devotion and with this beautiful devotion that a devotee actually expresses. That's how you can bound the Almighty Lord. Be it Lord Ram, when he advented, well, he had the devotees as Vanaras, he had devotees like Shabri and Ahalya. When Krishna had come, Krishna had devotees like the Gopikas and of course Radha. And in Swami's time, it is us, we the devotees. And in this context, I have the privilege of today inviting a very special devotee, as rightly mentioned by Brother Murli. He is none other than Brother Shyam Kishore.
Sai Ram Anandya.
Sai Ram Shyam, great to have you in today's In Tune with Sai. Welcome once again.
Thank you.
So before Shyam gets going, I'll just take maybe a few minutes to introduce our brother Shyam. Shyam is in fact, as all of you know, that he is the alumnus of SSSSIHL University. Shyam joined way back in 1986 in the secondary school in class 11. And in fact, me and Shyam have been classmates. So after completing his school in 1986, in fact, Shyam moved to Brindavan to complete his undergrads. And in 1993, Shyam completed his M.B.A. Shyam has been, very fortunate to be part and parcel of the music group. Well, in those days, you did not have a configured name as the Prasanthi Bhajan group. In those days, it was being called the music group, and Shyam was extremely lucky to be part of this wonderful music group. And when I say he was part of the music group, he had a lot of chances to play in front of Bhagwan, right? And he was also part of the dramas as well as dance that boys performed live in front of Bhagwan. So Shyam, it's pleasure inviting you. And before you get going, I'm reminded of a very interesting incident that in fact happened way back in 1986. And I'm sure you would recollect that. It's pretty fresh in my memory. Well, if you remember in 1986, right, when he had joined, it was in the month of September, wherein you and a fellow classmate of ours, who was in fact used to play Mridangam. So I guess both of you actually had planned to do a Jugalbandi in front of Swami. And Swami actually did give you the permission of doing that. But then something very interesting happened. Am I right?
That's right.
Over to you, Brother Shyam. we would want you to narrate this beautiful incident and get going with the lovely memories that you have of Swami. Thank you, Shyam.
Thank you. Om Sri Sai Ram. My humble pranams at Bhagwan's Lotus Feet. Respected elders, dear sisters and brothers. Thank you, Brother Murli, for your kind words. And like Anandya said, I certainly do have loving and very wonderful memories of being part of the music group while being in Brindavan and Puttaparthi. I have been extremely grateful to Swami for giving me a chance to be part of Swami's educational institutions for 7 years. And a bonus 1 year where I was a waiting boy. So he allowed me to be in Prasanthi Nilayam for that 1 year too. I'm also grateful to my parents who, in their wisdom, encouraged me to apply to the higher secondary school in 1986. And that's when my journey as a student started. It has been a phenomenal journey. Those 8 years that I spent there have been amongst the most memorable in my life. And I say this on behalf of all the students across all the 4 campuses who have studied there. That period that we have spent there, it will always be cherished by all of us, because then, in those days, and even today, I'm sure, everything revolved around Swami. So there is a certain connect that we have with those educational institutions, even after we are passed out now. And today, I will be sharing some experiences of mine. More than experiences, these are the learnings that I have taken, either through direct directions from Bhagwan or through direct experiences, or being part of a group where Bhagwan has given an experience to the group and that I have been witness to. And let me tell you, these learnings are universal learnings. They are not just applicable to me. They are applicable to each and every one of us. And these learnings, Swami has repeatedly told us again and again and again, across discourses, across experiences. Today, I'm just reinforcing some of those learnings that we have taken during our stay there. So I'm going to be focusing on 5 key learnings that I took among the several that Swami imparted, which is what I will be sharing with you today in the next 60 minutes. As Anandya mentioned, yes, we were classmates. We passed out in 1988 from the school. And sometime in 2016, 4 years back, I think it was the month of March, where some of us thought, let's have a class reunion in the higher secondary school itself, in Prasanthi Nilayam, in the school, along with the teachers who taught us. So the plan was set in motion. Everybody liked the idea. And finally, we decided that we will have it in the month of July. All the preparations were made. Teachers and the principal said, we will make all arrangements for you. We had requested for about 8 rooms inside the ashram for some of us to stay. Teachers told us, don't worry, we will take care, you just come. So the day prior to the D-Day, myself and Anandya, we have so many things in common, fortunately or unfortunately. And I'll come to the unfortunate part in a little while. We went to Parthi together. We were in the same flight. And a classmate of ours, Abhay Amrite, I'm taking names because it helps all of us to relate to a certain event, which is the reason I'm taking names. Abhay picked us up from the airport. We all went to Puttaparthi. We freshened ourselves up, put on our whites, and myself and Abhay went to the accommodation office to get hold of the keys that were promised to us. So we went, the elderly gentleman, sir, who was sitting across the table, we told him, so there were 2 things that happened. We did not inform our teachers that instead of 8 rooms, we now needed 10. And we also thought that it would be nice if all of us are together in one single block so that, it becomes easy for coordination. And it's because all of us were meeting after a long time. We thought it would be good if all of us are together. We had not informed the teachers then. So when we met the sir from the accommodation office, we told him, sir, thank you very much for arranging the rooms, but now our requirements have changed. We now need 10 rooms and not 8. And we would like all the rooms to be in one block. So the person sitting across the table, sir, he looked at us with a face which kind of said, "Ye Swami, mere samne bevkufon ko kyun bhejte hain?" He said, he very patiently explained to us, sir, why is it not possible to provide all rooms in one block? And his explanation was very logical, very apt. And finally, when he went on, and he also said that you started with 8 and now you want 2 additional rooms. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to get rooms inside the ashram? So finally, we said, "Jo hame mil raha hai, wo le lete hain." So we told him, "Sir, please give us whatever you have." So he pointed to a wall which was there, and there were a lot of keys, a bunch of keys tied against a rope, which were hung on the walls. Bunch of keys of X number of keys, another bunch which Y number of keys, and so on and so forth. So he had kept our keys separately. He took that, brought it to us, showed it to us, and we saw that there were 10 keys in that bunch and not 8. There were 10 keys. Wonder of wonders. We realized that all the rooms were in the same block, West 7 behind the round block. How do we explain that? Sir was not shocked because he had seen this before in Prasanthi Nilayam happening. But he was definitely surprised that this has happened because he himself had put together those 8 keys in that bunch that day morning. So he was surprised. So he said, very nice thing. And he said it as a matter of fact. He said, Swami is with you, don't worry. He has approved your event. That's what he said. He has approved your event. And then he followed that up with a statement, which is the first of the lessons that for this evening today. And he said, Swami is with you. It's such a nice statement, such a beautiful statement, and which is why I wanted to bring this upfront rather than wait till end. Swami was indicating to us that even for the smallest of events that you're doing, I'm with you, don't worry, I'll take care of your requirements. But brothers and sisters, let us ask ourselves, do we actually believe that Swami is always with us? Do we have that steadfast belief that Swami is always with us? When things are going good for us, बेटे की शादी, बेटी की शादी, admissions हो गया, we credit everything to Swami. Swami ने ये करवा दिया, Swami ने वो करवा दिया. When things are going good, everything is rosy, everything is Swami. But when we start hitting speed breaks in our lives, when our engines start sputtering, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and when these problems keep on increasing and increasing and increasing, and when it gets sustained over a period of time, that's when that belief gets tested severely. We start getting small doubts in our mind when it gets sustained over a period of time that, Swami, are you really aware of what is happening to me? Why can't you take me out of this? Don't you know what I'm going through? All these thoughts keep coming in our minds. And that's when our belief that Swami is with us gets tested. There's a beautiful poem written by Margaret Powers. Many of you would have read that. It's called Footprints in the Sands. And for those who haven't read it, I'll just give you a gist of what that poem is all about. There the person says in the poem, I dreamed a dream where I was walking on the beach along with my Lord, and I could see there were 2 sets of footprints, one belonging to me and one belonging to my Lord. And all of a sudden, My entire life flashed in front of me. And what do I see there? I see that all through my life, there are always two sets of footprints, one belonging to me and one belonging to my Lord. But there were many such periods, smaller periods, where I could see only a single set of footprint. And those were the times when I was at the lowest ebb of my life. Those were the times when I was facing huge amount of difficulties. So the person asked God, where were you, God, when I needed you then? Because I could see only a single set of footprint. And then God replies, son, that was the time when I was carrying you. Isn't that a beautiful expression of God being always with us? Sathya Sai Speaks, Volume 37. I would strongly suggest people to read that. There is when Swami says, people always complain to God that we are praying so fervently, but God is not answering our prayers. And Swami says, the problem lies not with God, but problem lies with our prayers. Because our prayers always follow like this. There is a peak and there is a trough. So when we are facing problems, our prayers are intense. It reaches the peak. But when things are going down, we at times even forget the very existence of God. And Swami says, unless your prayers are consistent over the entire duration of your life and as intense as it should be, Swami will also take time to answer your prayers. I'll just quote Swami to end this small lesson that we have learned. I'll quote Swami, and Swami says, I'm just quoting him. He says, I shall be with you wherever you are, guarding you and guiding you. March on, have no fear. Let's have that steadfast belief in our Lord that He's always with us. He will not fail us. That's the lesson number one, which I wanted to share with you. Now, let me take you through the incident which Brother Anandya was mentioning, a very nice incident, which happened when we were in our 11th standard, 1986. Swami was to come to the hostel. He had said he would be coming next Sunday. So this was a Monday or a Tuesday. And when Swami said he would be coming to the hostel in the evening, so what happens is when Swami says he's coming to the hostel, lot of things happen in parallel. So music program की practice start हो जाती है, drama की practice start हो जाती है, small skits, talks, speeches, so many things happen in parallel. So we were in our 11th, very raw. And luckily I came with a background of formally learning tabla. I knew some bits and pieces here and there. And there was a person, my classmate, Ramesh, who was a very good mridangam player. So we had a wild idea that let's do a jugalbandi in front of Swami. It was wild because it had never been done by the students before. That's why it was wild. Now, we didn't know how to proceed ahead on this because we were new to the system. So we approached our seniors in the hostel and they said, no problem. Why don't you show us what you have? Practice something, show it to us. Once we okay it, then you ask Swami. And if Swami okays it, then you play it, no problem. The seniors were very helpful. We were thankful to that. But now the problem arose. Where do we practice? When do we practice? Because from morning till evening, we were all tied up in school, darshan, bhajan. The only time that was available to us was in the night after dinner. But then in the hostel, we used to have study hours from 8 to 9:30. And in those study hours, the hostel would be absolutely silent when everybody supposedly would be studying, sitting in their chair. So a solution was found. We approached our wing teacher, Sai Surendranath sir. He requested the principal, and principal sir agreed, late Professor Habu. He agreed to have us in the school every day evening for practice. So he would come from the staff quarters every day for those 5 or 7 days. He would be there dot at 7:45, and we would practice for 90 minutes. He would lock the keys and he would go back. These days, we seldom do get such principles. Very fine individual, very fine gentleman. So our practice, 5 days we practice, and on Friday we went with our piece to the seniors in the hostel. We played whatever that we had to play. It was a 5 or 7 minutes piece. They said it's fine, so we requested them that let's also have a laya to go with the Jugalbanti. So that was also arranged. One harmonium player said he can do it. That was arranged. One step cleared. The next was how to take permission from Swami. Like I said, we were new to the system. There again, we approached Sai sir. He said, "You don't worry. You just focus on what you have to do. We'll find a solution." That night, Sai sir came back and told us, "Swami has approved it. Just go ahead." And when he said that, our excitement levels just shot up. It's I don't know if any of you have experienced. It's the anticipation of the event rather than the event itself that increases your excitement levels. So we were on the top of the world, and for those 2 days, our intensity levels of the practice session itself went several notches up. The D-Day arrived, we were ready. Evening, Swami came. Swami came into the quadrangle where he was to sit. He sat, all the program started, and our program was towards the end. So when the second last program was ending, or when it had just ended, when me and Ramesh were ready with our piece, Swami calls for the mic and the table, which meant he was going to start a discourse. Little did we know that normally Swami's discourse is last on the agenda, because after the discourse, everything stops. After the Aarti, event is over. We didn't know that. We still thought that discourse के बाद हमें एक मौका और मिलेगा, हम बजा लेंगे. So that anticipation was still there. Swami started the discourse. He ended the discourse with a bhajan. Then Aarti happened. And once Aarti happened, Swami came down the dais and he was walking towards the dining hall. And there, me and Ramesh, both of us were sitting, and he went in front of us. He was going past us, and he looked at me and asked, "Kai ko nahi bajaya?" This is the first time Swami standing in front of me so closely, and he's talking to me. One was speechless. One couldn't even understand what was happening. And I was completely lost. And I couldn't even tell Swami, हम तो तैयार करके बैठे थे. आप ही ने डिस्को स्टार्ट कर दिया, हम क्या करते? कैसे बोल सकते थे? And because it was the first time, कुछ भी दिमाग में नहीं आ रहा था कि क्या बोले. Obviously, Swami knew what was going through in our mind. So he said, "Tisko." So we took Pad Namaskar. And Swami was just leaving when I mustered courage. I don't know how. And I just asked Swami, "Swami, I want to play tabla inside the mandir for bhajans." Swami is magnanimous. He says, "I always give and give and give." Swami will never say no to our prayers. So he said, "No problem, bajao." Swami ne permission de diya bajane ka. That night, brothers and sisters, in my mind, I was actually playing tabla in the bhajan hall, in my mind. I probably didn't sleep that night because I was sure that next day evening, it will be me sitting in the front playing tabla. It does not take long for Swami to bring you down to Mother Earth. It took me 13 more months to play inside the mandir. Why? Because Swami knew that I wasn't ready yet. I may have been technically proficient in playing for a bhajan, but for playing for Swami's bhajan the way it is to be done, Swami knew that I wasn't ready yet. And what did I learn in those 12 months or 13 months? I learned that technical proficiency is not the most important thing when we perform in front of Swami, when we perform bhajans in front of Swami. I learned that bhajan is not a forum for any of us to showcase our talents. I learned that in as much simple as bhajans are, the accompaniments too have to be as simple and less complicated. I learned that the entire package of bhajan singing, which means the singer, the singing, all the accompaniments, which includes tabla, dholak, harmonium, manjira, dhapli, all of that, all of that have to be in harmony for to make sure that the person who is listening to it, it becomes a symphony for him, and enable him to connect with God. That was the whole idea behind singing bhajans, right? It took me 12 months to realize that. What happens normally, many of us fall into this trap, and I say this for all the people who are involved in bhajan singing and playing. The singers, they start uh, giving a lot of variations when they sing. People like us who play percussion instruments, we try to do too many things on the tabla or dholak. जो हारमोनियम बजाते हैं वो भी कुछ करते हैं. So what happens when all of those things happen? People who are listening to your bhajans, they get distracted. When they get distracted, they are getting disconnected from God. And when that happens, that's the biggest disservice that we can do to anybody. We have to make sure that the entire package is in harmony. Only then that a bhajan session is good. So tomorrow, if somebody were to come to me and say, "Aapne bahut acha bajaya," or if somebody were to go and tell a singer that "Aapne bahut acha gaya," let's not be proud of that, because that's not what Swami wants. If somebody were to come and tell us कि आज का भजन बहुत अच्छा था, then all the bhajan members, the team can pat their backs, saying that today we have been able to achieve what Swami wants us to achieve. So those 12 months were a learning to me, and it's only after that that I could actually play inside the mandir, and that itself is an incident by itself. So there's a story behind how I actually started playing, which I will leave it for some other session. So what I'm trying to say is there is a time for everything, and Swami decides that time, and he provides us that time to learn and relearn and relearn and relearn and make sure that we are ready when we actually have to perform a certain activity. That's the learning I had, one of the learnings that I had when I was there. Let me now take you to the months of May and June of 1988. That was a time when we had actually given our so we were completed our 12th standard, and we had given our entrance exam for the institute. The months of May and June are normally when we give our exam and results are announced. So results were going to be announced sometime in June, and it was scheduled to be announced on a Thursday. We were told that it will be announced on a Friday. So in those days, the results used to be displayed on the notice board outside the South Indian canteen, and it used to be displayed on the notice board of the college. So what would happen is after the bhajan, everybody would go to the South Indian canteen to check out the results. So when our turn came after the bhajan, all of us who were there, we all went to the South Indian canteen outside. We saw the list, and 10 of us realized that our names were not there. Our names were not there in the list. We used to be known as the famous 10. Brother Anandya Das Gupta was also part of that. which is why I said he's been part of my journey, fortunately and unfortunately. We didn't know what to do because this was unprecedented. Those who had studied in the higher secondary school and applied for admission in the college, it had never happened before that they were denied admission in college. So this was happening for the first time. And unlike now, where there is a standard operating procedure for everything, in those days we didn't have anything. So what did we do? Directly from the South Indian canteen, 9 of us went. There was one person who was not in Parthi at that point in time. 9 of us went to the administrative block on the hilltop. We spent the whole day there trying to get an audience, trying to understand why this has happened. Finally, we got to meet the controller of examinations, a very nice person. And he matter of factly said, "Why do you worry? Just pay to Swami and he'll give you admission." वो तो ठीक था, लेकिन प्रे करने के बाद एडमिशन नहीं मिला तो तब क्या करेंगे? And in our group, we had a couple of boys who had been studying from OT. So 12 years they had spent. Anindya was there for 5-6 years, and there were others like me who had spent 2 years in the school. So for all of us, it was extremely difficult to fathom a life outside of Swami's educational institutions. So the only course available to us was to ask Swami to do something for us. Next day morning, that evening, in fact, we got special permission to sit right in the front of the veranda. Swami came out for darshan and we tried to kneel. Swami ignored us. He knew what was happening. Swami ignored us. He went, he did the entire round of darshan. He called people for interview. Your interview got over and Swami did not come out. Normally, Swami would come out and talk to students after the interview. He would spend some time in the veranda. That evening, Swami did not do that. He was inside his room, and when bhajan started, Swami came for bhajans, and after the bhajans, he just retired for the day. We could not say anything to Swami. Saturday morning, this was Friday. Saturday morning, we again tried. Swami did the same thing Saturday morning. Saturday evening, exactly the same thing. He was not looking at us. He was even ignoring us. He didn't even register our presence. And now we were losing patience. And we were wondering, अब क्या करें भाई? स्वामी तो हमें देख भी नहीं रहे हैं. लेकिन क्या ऑप्शन है? लगे रहो, हिंदी में कहते हैं लगे रहो. So we said we'll continue praying to Swami. Sunday morning, it started with the same routine. Swami came, he didn't look at us. He went for the darshan. But there was a change in the whole environment. He did not call anyone for interview that morning. Swami came back after darshan, went inside the room, came out after 10 minutes, and then came to us and then asked, "Kya ho gaya?" And then we all said, "Swami, please, Swami, sorry, Swami, please, Swami, sorry, Swami." But nobody was telling ki actually hua kya hai. Then one of us who was most sensible, he got up and said, "Swami, Swami, we have not got admission in the college." Swami pucha, "Kai ko?" So Swami, we don't know. Then Vice Chancellor sir was sitting on the upper veranda to our left. Swami asked him, "What is this?" And then in front of everybody, Vice Chancellor sir said, "Swami, they failed at the entrance exam, so how could we give them admission?" अगर वो स्वामी के कान में आके बोलते आराम से तब तो बात थी. और सबके सामने स्वामी ने उन्होंने बोल दिया. बेइज्जती तो वैसी होनी थी, वो हो गई. अब क्या करें? And Swami said, "Oh, Papam." He said Papam and then he went back to his room. After 5 minutes, he comes out again and then calls all of us for an interview inside. And then Swami spoke to us for about hour and a half inside the room, interview room, essentially telling us, guiding us as to the do's and don'ts of what a Swami student should do, how he should behave, what he should not do. And we all promised Swami, we will be true students of yours, we will study hard. We made a lot of promises to Swami that evening because we were desperate to get in. Finally, when we were inside, while we were inside, Swami called for the Vice Chancellor, sir. He came inside and Swami told him, boys, हमको promise करता कि अच्छा पढ़ेगा, तो क्या करें? The Vice Chancellor sir was also looking for an opening. So he said, Swami, आप approve करता है तो we will give admission, Swami, no problem. And that's how we got into Swami's college, 10 of us. One of the key learnings from this incident is we should never, never, never take Swami for granted. He's always there with us. We know it. He will grant us everything, but only if we do our bit to achieve that. Swami has always said, you take one step and I will take 100 for you. But it is imperative for us to take that one step. Because if we don't take that step, he will not be with us. He will not even bother about us. So that's why it's important. If we do our bit, Swami will go out of his way to be with us. That's the learning number 3 that I had during my stay there. Let me now take you to 1992, April 14th. In 1992, some of us had a blessed opportunity of accompanying Swami to Kodaikanal and Ooty. And fortunately, I was part of that. Swami had blessed me with that opportunity. So, and there, this was April 14th. I still remember the date because that was the day of Vishu, our new year. A lot of things happened. That was probably one of the best days of my life that I had with Swami. In the morning when Swami came out, I offered a petal of rose to Swami. Not petal, a rose to Swami. And then Swami very jokingly said, am I your girlfriend? Why are you giving me flowers? And then we went down for breakfast. And what used to happen is after breakfast, Swami would go out and give darshan. And he would ask all of us to go out, go for a walk, and then come back. So Swami finished his darshan, and we all came back from our walk. And after that darshan and walk, we would all sit around Swami, and Swami would narrate a lot of stories from Mahabharata, Ramayana, or he would have informal chats with all of us. Because it was the day of Vishu, New Year day for me, all the other brothers said, why don't you sit right in front today? So that was a lovely opportunity. So I was actually, so there's a single sofa. If you've seen the photo which was circulated, the sofa, it's a single sofa. And there's no footstool in that sofa. So I sat right under his chair, under the sofa, and literally at his lotus feet, because his feet were on my legs. And I was holding on to his feet. And that day, Swami was in a very playful mood. And when Swami is in a playful mood, one needs to be careful. Because Swami kuch bhi kahin se bhi pooch lete hain. And he was talking to everybody. He was cracking jokes. A very nice session, very beautiful session going on. And out of the blue, Swami looks at me and says, do you sing? He asked in Tamil, do you sing? No, because he was in a playful mood, I knew this was a trick question. Because if I say I sing, Swami would tell me that, Donnapota, you are a tabla player. How can you say that you sing? And if I say, Swami, I don't sing, Swami can say, Donnapota, tum to itna saal hamare saath raha, tum bhajan nahi gata. So it was a double whammy. Kya bole? So the best option in such situations is be silent. Don't say anything. So I remained silent. He asked me again, tum bhajan gata? So when he asked me again, I started murmuring something so that, it shows as if I'm replying, but I'm actually not replying. So I started saying, karke. Then Swami said, hey? Again, I started murmuring something. Swami was not happy with all of that. So Swami finally said, okay, now you sing. And without battling an eyelid, I actually sang a bhajan in front of Swami that day. Jai Ganga Jatadhara Gauri Shankara Girija Manaramana. That bhajan. It just came on the spot and I sang that bhajan. And it was actually, I can't even describe the feeling that I had when I was singing that, because the entire duration of the bhajan, he's looking at me, I'm holding onto his feet, and it was it was wonderful. And all those 2 minutes that I sang, he was going on looking at me. The bhajan got over. Swami continued to look at me for a few seconds. And then after that, he asked other non-lead singers to sing. So everyone sang. Many of them were non-lead singers. They sang. And Swami commented on them. कि मंची थी या अच्छा गाया या नहीं अच्छा गाया. हर जो भी स्टूडेंट वहां पे था, स्वामी ने कुछ कुछ बोला. Now look at my situation. I should have been the happiest person that day that I have got a chance to sing in front of Swami. But the mind is a monkey mind. I was thinking, why didn't Swami say anything to me after I sang the bhajan? ना उन्होंने मंचिदी बोला, कुछ भी नहीं बोला. बाकी सबको स्वामी ने बोला, मेरे को क्यों नहीं बोला? और वही चीज दिमाग में चल रहा था, that why did he not say anything? And that feeling I would always have for the next 1 or 2 months. I went on having that feeling. And there's a beautiful learning here, and I'll come to that in a little while, because the story does not end here. 2 months later, this was sometime near Guru Purnima. It was 2 days before Guru Purnima. It was a Sunday morning, and I was playing. So Sunday morning bhajans, 9 o'clock bhajans would start. I was supposed to play tabla on that day. So bhajan started, I started playing, and after Ganesh bhajan, Swami came inside the bhajan and sat. So after 4 bhajans were over, I handed over the tabla to Sai sir, who was sitting next to me, and he started playing. So this is a very, these things are so vivid in our memories. So there is brother Arun Dhareshwar, who is playing flute. I'm sitting here, and next to me is Sai sir, who is playing tabla. And it was about 9:20 or 22 where brother S. Kumar was singing a bhajan. I'm sure you all know who brother S. Kumar is. He was the first speaker in the series of In Tune With Sai, who was live with us from Washington. He was singing a bhajan. He had started singing. The first speed got over. The second speed started. When the second speed starts, normally what happens is the lead mic for the next singer is given to him. So when the lead mic was getting shifted to the next singer, Swami, wherever he was sitting, he just indicated something with his fingers. And I find the mic in front of me. At first, I thought that ये गलती से शायद मेरे सामने mic आ गया है. And I quietly tilted the mic towards brother Arun, who was playing the flute. And he, from the side of his eyes, he looked at me saying, मेरे को क्यों मरवा रहा है भाई? तू ही गा. And when this was happening, Swami was looking at all of that was happening. And Swami indicated with his hand that mic should be in front of me. That's when it struck me, the enormity of what Swami was doing. Singing with Swami and 20 boys is one thing, but singing in a mic with so many students, so many devotees, I thought I would not be able to do justice. And with my face, because we couldn't speak, because bhajans were going on, I indicated to Swami, no, I cannot sing. And Swami also with his face. So we were having this facial communication. Swami was also saying, no, you have to. So this went on for a while. And while all of this was happening, someone sends me a slip written, scale question mark. They wanted to know what scale I'm going to sing. उनको क्या पता हमारी हालत यहाँ खराब हो रही है, आप लोगों को स्केल की पड़ी है. And after I took that piece of paper in my hand, and looked at Swami. Very conveniently, he had closed his eyes and he was looking, his head was tilted like this and he had closed his eyes. And bhajans is now coming to a close. Now what to do? Now I can't even communicate with Swami. That's when I decided if Bhagwan wants me to sing, then I will. Because I didn't ask him for permission. 2 months back, he asked me to sing, I sang. Today also, I have not asked him. He is asking me to sing. And these are opportunities which seldom come again and again and again. Many of us have had heard experiences of great singers who just wanted one chance to sing in front of Swami, and they were denied that chance. And here I was, happening twice that Swami is asking me to sing. And then I decided, okay, Swami, I will sing. What people hear is up to you. I can't control that, but I leave it to you. So the bhajan got over. When the bhajan gets over, the first beat is also sung. And I was petrified. My stress levels were at its peak. I actually was very, very, very scared of what will happen next. So when the bhajan got over and I was just about to start, I don't even remember now which bhajan I was going to start with. That's when Swami, with his leg, pushed the footstool under his chair, which meant that the bhajans were over. And when he was doing that, he was looking at me, smiling. It was such a huge sigh of relief to me that Swami has ended the bhajan. And it was just not only to me, all the 25 or 30 other bhajan singers who were sitting there, they also heaved a sigh of relief. Ki Swami ab kar kya rahe the, isko gaane ke liye keh rahe the. So Swami takes the arti and he's stepping down from the dais and he looks at me and he says, was the heart beating like this? And he was smiling and he was saying that, was the heart beating like this? And I said, yes, Swami, it was. And then he walked off. Now, brothers and sisters, it's looking back, I have very, very lovely memories of that incident. But what did I learn that day? I learned that at some time, we should just count our blessing and be happy with what we have. Swami has given us everything, isn't it? Can we just restrict ourselves to what we have and be happy about it? There is some of you who have read Sai Satcharita, there is a story which Himatpan narrates about Damu Anna, where Damu Anna wanted to earn some profits out of a trade from dealing in cotton trading. And he wanted to earn, because in those days, lots of people were earning lots of money by trading in cotton. And Damu Anna wanted to do that. And he wanted to ask Baba whether he wanted to seek his permission, whether he should do or not. And then Baba exclaimed, why does he crave for more when I have given him everything? There is and this is what Baba said. I also recall a very nice story which during our Balvika's days I had read, or our teacher had told us. This is about a crow which goes to a swan and says, I wish I was like you because you are so white and so pure. I want to be like you. And the swan says, you want to be like me, but I want to be like the parrot because parrot has two colors. So the crow goes to the parrot and says, I want to be like you because you have two colors. And the parrot replies, I want to be like the peacock, which has so many colors. And finally, the crow goes to the peacock and says, I wish I was like you. I wish to be a peacock because you are so beautiful. Everyone admires you. And the peacock replies, you're absolutely right. People like me. I look beautiful. But what do? I'm in a zoo, cage. I don't have the freedom to go anywhere. So I wish I was like the crow. So it actually came a full circle. can we be happy with what we have? And I'll read out and I'll quote Swami. This is a Ganesh Chaturthi discourse which Swami gave in 1989, and I would like to read that out for you all. And Swami says, man can experience joy and happiness only when he has contentment. When desires grow, disconnect grows and worries multiply. You must learn to be content with your condition. He who has got much satisfaction is the richest man. So that's the learning that I had in that event. Though it appears to be a humorous incident, it wasn't. It was a lesson to me to be happy with what I have. And let me just end this particular episode with a PS as an aside. I've been in Delhi since 1994. That's when I came back from Parthi. And in all these 26 years, there have been only 3 houses where I have sung. And all 3 houses, people have been they've been magnanimous. They have never said that I sing lousy. They are born with me. And I've also sung in the Sai Center almost every year. During the Akhand Bhajan, in the night at about 2:33, that's when it's only Swami and a very few people. So Swami also knows that that's what I'm capable of. That's as an aside. So I've consciously tried to avoid bhajan singing for the reasons which I've just explained. Let me now come to the final learning that I wish to share with you. This happened when we were in our first year, or we were in our second year in Brindavan. In those days, Swami used to regularly come to Brindavan, and he would spend a week to 10 days, and he would go back. And those 10 days used to be the best that we had, because we would always have a session inside the Trai, which used to be an informal session. So this used to be like an interview which Swami was giving to all the students every day, every evening. So we used to look forward to Swami coming to Brindavan. During one of those trips, Swami, so this was a Thursday, I think, and Thursday evening after the darshan, in the night, Swami sent word that boys need not come for darshan at all. This was a big shock to us, because Swami's visits were very few and far between, and he was here only for 7 to 10 days. And even in that period, if he were to tell us that we should not come for darshan, we didn't know what was happening. And we realized that surely something has gone wrong from the student side, which is why Swami has said, don't come. There was extreme disappointment in many of us. People stopped eating food. In the college, teachers understood what was going on, so they didn't focus on teaching. We used to have extended study circle sessions in the college, because it was a very serious problem that Swami is saying, don't come for my darshan. Friday went, Saturday went. On Sunday, so when all of this was happening, like in diplomacy, back-end channels were open. So a warden would send word to Swami that Swami boys desperately want to come for darshan, and Swami, wouldn't reply. So that was going on. Finally, Saturday night, we get a message that Swami has agreed for boys to come for darshan. We were all overjoyed. We went for darshan in the morning, Sunday morning. And when Swami opened the door of Trai Brindavan, all the boys rushed towards Swami and gharowed him and said, Swami, sorry, Swami, please, Swami, sorry, Swami. Many of you would have heard the boys gharowing Swami and saying sorry. And then Swami very innocently said, why are you saying sorry? No, Swami, please forgive us. Please, Swami, please, Swami. Swami said, you haven't done anything. I asked you not to come because your exams are coming. So I wanted you to study. If you come here for darshan, then your time gets wasted, which is the reason why I wanted you to be at hostel. We all knew that Swami was trying to make it up. We said, no, Swami, please, Swami, sorry, Swami. Oh, that went on for probably 2-3 minutes. And then Swami said, Anni stuntara. It's all a stunt that you all are doing. And then that morning, Swami called all of us inside the Trai. Normally we would have evening sessions with Swami. That Sunday morning, Swami called all of us in the morning. And we had a beautiful session with him that morning. So the session got over and we were coming out. And some of us who knew the cook, who would serve Swami, who would cook for Swami and serve Swami, we had met him. And then he said, Swami has not taken food for 3 days. And when Swami was offered food, Swami said, boys have not taken food, so how can I? So what I'm trying to say, and this is the last lesson for the day, and it's a continuation of what I said upfront, that not only is Swami with us, but he also shares the pain with us. I think that is critical for us to understand and always realize that he is with us no matter what condition, and he's also sharing that pain with us. When I started this talk, when I started this session, I said, I have blessings to Swami for giving me a chance to be a student of his education institutions. That journey as a student still continues, and it will continue till, and Swami has always said, as a student, I want to see you elevate yourself from being a student of my education institutions to being a student of me. So as far as I am concerned, that journey still continues, and it will continue till such time that Swami tells me that, yes, you have become my student. That's what my goal and objective is. Before I conclude this evening's session, I have a very pleasant duty to perform. I would like to thank the Sri Sathya Seva organization, Delhi-NCR, for giving this wonderful chance of sharing some of my thoughts with you all. And I also would like to thank, and this is a special thanks to the entire backend team. I've been part of the backend sessions for the last 4 sessions, so I know what it takes to put up this event. So my special thanks to the entire backend team for this whole event. I have been involved, associated with bhajans since I was 6 years old. That's when I actually started playing for bhajans. And bhajans have had a huge role to play in my life. And today, I would like to conclude with a bhajan, which is not sung by me for various reasons, as I've explained, which is sung by Brother Ravi Kumar from Prasanthi Nilayam, whom I had requested. And he graciously agreed to do that. So let us all enjoy this bhajan. This bhajan is dear to me because it essentially says, Swami is everything. So now can we all sing this bhajan, please? Sai Ram.
Sai Pita aur Mata Sai.
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 Deen Dayala Data Sai.
Deen Dayala Data Sai.
Deen Dayala Data Sai.
Deen Dayala Data Sai.
Sai Pita aur Mata Sai.
साई पिता और माता साई।
साई गुरु साई सखा सहोदर।
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 साई सत्य शिव साई सुंदर।
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 वेद उपनिषद गीता साई।
वेद उपनिषद गीता साई।
दीन दयाला दाता साई।
दीन दयाला दाता साई।
दीन दयाला दाता साई।
दीन दयाला दाता साई।
साई पिता और माता साई।
साई पिता और माता साई।
दीन दयाला दाता साई।
दीन दयाला दाता साई।
साई पिता और माता साई।
साई पिता और माता साई।
साई गुरु साई सखा सहोदर।
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 साई सत्य शिव साई सुंदर।
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 वेद उपनिषद गीता साई।
वेद उपनिषद गीता साई।
दीन दयाला दाता साई।
दीन दयाला दाता साई।
दीन दयाला दाता साई।
दीन दयाला दाता साई।
साई पिता और माता साई।
Om Sri Sai Ram. On behalf of Sri Sathya Sai Seva Organization, Delhi-NCR, and our state president, Sri Rakesh Kapoorji, I thank Brother Shyam for giving us this wonderful session of blissful learning. We were part of the famous 10 group, beautifully explained the 5 learnings for the day. Thank you, brother. And I must say how Swami enjoyed the beautiful bond with his students. And I'm sure he must have felt boys are boys. Thank you, brother, for sharing your beautiful experiences with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
जिस तरह स्वरों के आरोह अवरोह में तीव्र व कोमल स्वरों के बीच अगर ताल न हो तो गीत अधूरा सा लगता है। इसी प्रकार जैसे आपने कहा, जब हम जीवन में इतने उतार चढ़ाव देखते हैं और अगर हम अपने स्वामी के सुंदर सुमधुर पदचाप की ताल को पहचान लेते हैं तो जीवन सार्थक हो जाता है। Thank you for giving us this beautiful learning, Brother Shyam. And thank you for being with us for our numerous musical offerings, whether in Delhi or in Prasanthi. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We would also like to thank our very senior devotees and revered parents of Brother Shyam, Shri Arvind ji and Srimati Sharda ji. Thank you for instilling in him these beautiful values, which truly reflect in his simplicity and humility. Brother Shyam, our sincere prayers to Bhagwan to bless you and your entire family with his infinite divine love and grace.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you once again. Thank you once again. To bid farewell to her spiritually charged year 2020, we will have our regular Sardhar Bhajan on the 27th of December from 5 to 6 p.m. And Swami, नए साल के आगाज के लिए एक फरियाद है, एक छोटी सी फरियाद। तेरे इश्क में डूब जाएं ऐसा मन है, इस जुनून से जिंदगी जीने की तमन्ना है कि दिन की फिक्र न हो और रात ढल जाने का जिक्र न हो, बस यही और बस यही इस दिल की तमन्ना है। With this prayer and thought, spiritual wing of Sri Sathya Sai Seva organization Delhi-NCR would like to present a musical extravaganza on the 3rd of January. So stay tuned in to enjoy the songs of life. Jai Sai Ram. May I now request all to join us for the Mangal Aarti. Sai Ram.
ओम जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी सत्य साई हरे भक्त जना संरक्षक भक्त जना संरक्षक पति महेश्वरा ओम जय जगदीश हरे शशिवदना श्रीकरा सर्वा प्राणपते स्वामी सर्वा प्राणपते आश्रित कल्पलतिका आश्रित कल्पलतिका आवतान्धवा ओम जय जगदीश हरे माता पिता गुरुदैवमु मरियन्तयु नीवे स्वामी मरियन्तयु नीवे नाथ ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नाथ ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नागेन्द्रशयन ॐ जय जगदीश हरे ओंकार रूप ओजस्वी साई महादेवा सत्य साई महादेवा मंगल आरती अंधुको मंगल आरती अंधुको मंगल गिरिधारी ओम जय जगदीश हरे नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा शांति 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 समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु शांति शांति शांति। जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।